What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call to the Bullpen. I'm David Payne with Brad Zampar and Jimmy Miller. Let's play ball. This is our first episode of September, the final month of the regular season. It's been a heck of a ride, 2022 so far, and something that we did brand new this year was every month we did an updated awards power ranking. So we had the power rankings for the teams, and then we had the awards power rankings in each league: MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Manager of the Year. And we just did our last one for the regular season. The next time that you see a updated awards from us will be the actual awards from the season. So want to take this time to, since nothing really too exciting has happened, we'll touch on Albert chasing 700. But really, besides that, the most exciting thing has been some really tight award races that we've seen. And we'll start with maybe the tightest one on the AL side with the AL MVP. And our rankings top five went Judge, Ohtani, J-Ram, Yordan Alvarez, and then Vlad Guerrero at 5. So we've got a real close top two there, separated by one total point. And if I voted today, I might vote differently than I voted. I gave Shohei my first place vote. I think he's even better than he was last year when he unanimously won the MVP. The ERA is significantly better. The hitting stats are a little bit worse, but the pitching significantly better. I thought that it would be a shame if a player having what I consider the most impressive season in the history of baseball didn't win the MVP. But Aaron Judge has hit a home run in like every single day since we voted. So every time that I say something about Shohei winning, Judge just responds with home run, home run, home run, home run. And he's on pace for 65 after a home run today. So I might vote differently for Judge, and I believe you both were Judge votes, and I was the only Shohei first place. But I think there's a large gap after the two of them. But walk me through your votes.
Yeah, I went Judge as well. Obviously, Shohei is having a historic season, but Judge, his WAR is higher, and he doesn't pitch. You know, to me, that's incredible that he has. I think he has like an 8.2 WAR. That's incredible for being a position player. And I think for him, he needs to get over 60 home runs for me. And he has a 1085 OPS, which is incredible. If he can keep it over 1,000, I think that he's definitely the winner for that. So I'd say, yeah, like 60, 30, 130 RBIs and over 1,000 OPS. To me, that should get him the MVP.
Yeah, I think when you break it down, people would rather have Shohei on their team than Judge on their team. Even this year, I think that would be the case. But I feel like a lot of like what the awards are, it's a lot about pushing narratives. And like last year with Ohtani and Vlad, like Vlad was amazing. He almost had a triple crown. But the narrative was that you hadn't seen anybody doing what? If Judge doesn't get that 60, maybe the other narrative is like doing another season like he did last year's MVP, and now he's going to finish second maybe, but it's really, you can't really go wrong choosing one of those guys.
I think the big thing for Judge is crossing that 61 mark by Maris, which would be breaking the American League record. I think that's a big point there where if, you talk about Shohei doing something we've never seen before. Well, 62 home runs in the American League would be something we've never seen before. And I think that that's the thing that kind of rivals a Shohei Ohtani, and kind of really the only thing. I think if he's 60 and below, I think that there's a real debate there. But if you can also do something that we haven't seen before, then you're seriously in consideration for that MVP there over the guy who every year does something we haven't seen before. So I think that 61, 62 are big numbers for Judge there, and he's on pace to get them. So we'll see where that goes. Going over to the AL Cy Young, we had the top two guys go to the injured list, but good news on both of them. It's not like a long-term thing. And then Dylan Cease goes out and takes a no-hitter into the ninth inning. So the top three there, and then you got Ohtani after him, Manoah after that. So a really tight race at the top there, but JV's my guy after coming back from Tommy John. Even if he wasn't coming back from Tommy John, even if he wasn't, in his late 30s, what he's putting together this year is really miraculous. And I think that McClanahan's been great as well. Cease's been great as well. But I think you add in the Tommy John, you add in the age, you add in being the ace of the best team in the American League. And JV, to me, is a pretty clear pick. You just really want to see him come back from that injury, okay?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've seen this before where I think Kershaw has had years where he's made 27, 28 starts, barely gets enough innings, and he wins the Cy. Last year, I think Burns had like 100, barely made the minimum, like 165 innings, and he won the award. If he, like you said, if he, only misses a few starts, comes back, and he could stay at the production that he's at, then I think he wins it. But if he comes back kind of slow, maybe some setbacks, only gives you 4 or 5 innings and builds himself up, then maybe the window opens. But I went JV as well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they got hurt like on the same day almost. Like it was like if one of them went down, the other one was going to be a huge favorite, but they end up both going down on the same day. So I feel like whoever's really like gets back faster, I think they're both supposed to be okay, not missing more than their 2 or 3 starts. But if one guy starts slower than the other guy, I feel like whoever starts hotter is going to end up winning that award.
Now, moving on next to the AL Rookie of the Year, which we talk about a lot on the show, being O's fans, we've had this debate. I mean, we probably brought it up in each of the last 3 episodes or so. So we don't have to go too into it here. But J-Rod came in number 1, Adley behind him, Stephen Kwan back on at number 3, Jeremy Pena at 4, and Felix Bautista making his first appearance on the award power rankings at number 5. I'm going to stick to what I've said, that at the end of the year, I think Adley can pass J-Rod, but I went J-Rod with the top spot. This is if the season ended today, who is the AL Rookie of the Year. So I did take J-Rod on that, but I do still, stick to what I said and the potential for Adley to win it at the end of the year.
Yeah, the trouble is that J-Rod's not giving him any ground. He's been spectacular of late. They're both playing pretty well offensively. But yeah, I definitely go J-Rod as well. I think Adley has been great since he's come up. J-Rod's going to have that compilation. He's going to have the higher counting numbers that you'd like to see.
Yeah, I feel like it's with Adley, like the last couple of weeks, he's really been in a rut or so. I think he's hitting like $170 the last like 2 weeks, and then J-Rod just continues to hit all the homers, and the sparkling plays in the outfield are what you're gonna see on highlight reels. You're not gonna see Adley throwing somebody out at second. So I feel like you're just gonna see a lot of J-Rod more, and right now it's probably J-Rod, and it's probably an outside chance that Adley catches him because he's just of what the Orioles. I feel like if the Orioles end up making the playoffs, Adley would be a big reason for that, and I think that might be enough for Adley to take over the Rookie of the Year vote from J-Rod.
Yeah, you don't really see pitch calling and framing on the SportsCenter top 10. So now going to the AL Comeback Player of the Year. This is a bit of a tough one to kind of nail down players for. But it's going to be Justin Verlander. He's going to win the Cy Young after Tommy John. He's going to be the Comeback Player of the Year. After him, Mike Trout coming back from an injured year. Martin Perez, Alex Bregman, and Michael Wacha rounding it out in the 3-4-5. I mean, there's really not much to say about this one. JV's the runaway. We all voted for him. It was actually on this award, we actually all voted exactly the same. We all voted JV1, Trout 2. We all voted that way. It was actually the easiest one to make up. So I don't even think that we need to go around on that one. And then going to the Manager of the Year, Brandon Hyde, our guy with the O's, taking on the top spot there with the miracle O's run. We can talk, Brad and I all day about different pitching decisions. We just lost game 1 of a doubleheader to the Blue Jays, and we were just talking about, a couple decisions there. You can't deny what the O's have done. You can't deny how much he gets out of his players, even during the bad years. He was really getting the most out of his players. And then after him, you got Francona with the Guardians. Weren't really expected to be in the mix, but are winning the Central, despite, it's super weak that it's not saying much. But They're winning the Central. Dusty Baker, Scott Servais, and Aaron Boone after that, although you can make an argument that Boone should be 31st out of 30 teams there. But I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add on that? We all pretty much voted pretty similar on this one. You guys got any?
Yeah, I'd say with Hyde, it's kind of the same with I'm sure we're going to talk about him soon with Showalter being a Mets fan. Sometimes we make questionable decisions, but I've kind of learned to take it that, if you're so critical on like a game to game basis, you have to kind of look at the big picture and realize, what, that move maybe, is questionable now, but he did save the good guys for, the next game. Cause sometimes as a manager, maybe you're down early and you're kind of like, what, we'll just throw the lesser guys and just take this L and then get our best guys for the next game. So I think that there's more than meets the eye with like the strategy of the game. So yeah, I think when you look at it from a game to game basis, you're like, yeah, those are some questionable decisions, but you have to look at the big picture, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for somebody other than Hyde to win this award when you break it down. And I don't even think I voted him one. Did I? Do you have the voting there?
I don't have it pulled up in front of me. By the time that you're done talking, I will.
I think I put him third. I could be wrong, but I feel like this team, there's nowhere. Like, I think there were 58 and a half games they were supposed to win this year. That was the over-under. He's going to outperform the rankings by 15, 20 wins, maybe more than that. It's kind of like unheard of. Like, this is like a Cinderella team doing it for the entire year. Because most times Cinderellas are like, you're done in June, July. It's September, and this team is 2.5, 3 games out of a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, you did have him third. You had him at third place. You had Dusty Baker number one, which I mean, it's hard to argue with when you look at how good the Astros are.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna jump over to the National League. We've got the MVP. This one again was, I believe, a unanimous decision. Paul Goldschmidt as the number one. We were also unanimous on Arenado as the. Actually, this is the one we were unanimous on. Okay, so it goes Goldschmidt 1, Arenado 2, Mookie 3, Freeman 4, Machado 5. We were all in agreement on that. Goldie's going to possibly win the Triple Crown. It's hard not to give a guy an MVP winning a Triple Crown. You could make an argument that despite having worse offensive stats, the defense that Arenado adds is something that could catapult him to a one spot. But I've seen a lot of Arenado plays where he makes a spectacular dive and then the throw across is in the dirt. And if Goldschmidt isn't there to pick it, then it's not a spectacular play. So, they kind of work together there, being, teammates on the opposite sides of the infield there. Like that one play where Arenado comes cutting across the infield, bare hands the chopper behind the mound and just spiked it as hard as he could throw the ball from probably 25, 30 feet away. And Goldschmidt picked it. So do you guys got anything to add on that race?
No, I think a lot of people are saying Goldie was on his way out, but I think I've always been a big Goldie fan, but he's obviously proving people wrong. Maybe the change of scenery helped. He's getting accustomed to St. Louis.
Yeah, those were two guys that like people had doubts with like for the last couple of years, and then now they've kind of really come back to that stardom level and really shown like that they're at the top of the game.
And I do think Mookie Betts is a dark horse in that race to keep an eye on over the course of the next 28 games or so. But he's every year, in the top 5 conversation, top 3. I think that there's a real solid argument Mookie Betts is the best player in the National League. And really, when he's good to go, he's a top 3 player in all of baseball. He's just so fun to watch. So keep an eye on Mookie over the next month. But I think that's Goldie's award.
He just hit his career high in home runs, though. Literally, like yesterday, I think he passed his career high was 32 when he won the MVP, and he just hit 33 yesterday, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's so under the radar too. It's crazy. Plays in the LA market and is somehow flying under the radar as a top 3 player in baseball for years too, or since the Red Sox. He's always been a guy that can go and put up like 8 to 10 WAR on any given year. Now moving to the Cy Young. Tony Gonsolin getting hurt, going to the IL, hurts his case a little bit. We've got Sandy Alcantara in the top spot, Gonsolin 2, Fried at 3, Gonsolin's Dodger teammate Julio Urias at 4, and then Corbin Burns, the reigning NL Cy Young winner, at 5. Like I said, Gonsolin going down hurts. It's pretty tight between the guys at the top, but I mean, Sandy is an old school ace. He's an old school Cy Young winner, chucking 8 innings a game. We talked about that one bad start against the Dodgers, bounced right back, shoved it down their throat later in the week. To me, this is an old school Cy Young winner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sandy's going to run away with it. We've seen him struggle, like you said, against the Dodgers. He struggled against the Mets. His last start, he struggled pretty bad against the Braves. I think he gave up like 4 bombs in his start. But yeah, he just eats up innings. Even if he doesn't win it this year, I think he's going to be a perennial Cy Young finisher.
Brad's all good. He's got nothing to add. We're gonna go next to the Rookie of the Year there, and at the top of the Rookie of the Year race. I mean, we got Harris 1, Strider 2. You had 2 Braves there in the conversation at the top, and I think that from other award power rankings I've seen, people aren't on the same page as us with Harris on top. They like Strider better, and maybe as a rookie pitcher, he gets a little bit more credit there. But I think that what Harris has done all year long, I think that it's been really important for him. With Acuna hasn't played at top player in baseball Acuna level. Ozuna constantly having troubles. He's been terrible on the field. So having Harris step up in that outfield role has maybe been a bigger contributor to the Braves' success. So I put Harris there. But after those 3, you've got Brendan Donovan, Christopher Morel, and Edward Cabrera, who you just mentioned on the trading floor not long ago. So, Jimmy, which way did you go on this and why?
I think I went Strider 1, only because he's a strikeout machine. I like what he does. If he keeps having outings like his last start, I think he went 8 shutout, broke their all-time single game strikeout record with 16, which is very impressive. So I think if he just continues to shove and just compile Ks, I think he's like top 5 in the league in strikeouts. I think he's at like 175, which as a rookie, if he could break 200, that would be really impressive. It really helps Case. But yeah, you could go either way with him and Harris.
Yeah, I've just really stuck with Harris because Harris was a guy that I was higher on, even when it was like back in, I think it was July where he first appeared on the ballot. And I had him I think he finished like 4 or 5, and I had him like at 2. Like I've been on him for a while. So obviously Strider probably gives you more, especially as a starting pitcher on a every 5-day basis and what he's doing it at. But I feel like Harris has really been like a spark for that lineup that they kind of need, because Acuna really isn't really playing that well so far.
Now, next, moving on to the NL Comeback Player of the Year, we've got Jeff McNeil in the 1 spot, David Robertson, the reliever for the Phillies now again at number 2, Albert Pujols, who, I mean, if he gets to 700, thinking maybe he gets the award. Just because, like we said, this is such a tough award to really nail down. The criteria is kind of shaky. Number 4, we had Daniel Bard, the reliever for the Rockies, locked himself up in extension after being out of baseball. Carlos Carrasco at number 5. McNeil's been a really important part of this Mets lineup. Big reason why they're in first place, and coming back from not just a down year, but kind of a tumultuous year last year with some drama last year as well.
Yeah.
So you really like to see him come back and be what he was for the Mets before that. But like I said, I think if Pujols gets to 700, maybe the award goes to him.
Yeah, I'll agree there. I think that like with Jeff, it's kind of a different case than what we see with JV and Trout, where they were hurt last year and they come back. Jeff hit like 250 last year. That's not what we see from Jeff. Like he's a perennial 300 hitter. He's back to where he's this year. Stop trying to hit the ball pull and just spraying all the fields like we like to see from Jeff. But yeah, I'd go Jeff right now, but Pujols is on the tear. If he gets 700, I think you have to give it to him.
Yeah, if he gets 700, that'll be the winner. For McNeil, I saw this tweet the other day. I think it was earlier this morning. Players with a 310 average, 820 OPS, and 14% or less strikeout rate in 4 of the first 5 years. Albert Pujols, Wade Boggs, Hank Aaron, Jeff McNeil if he keeps up on his pace, which is a crazy, crazy company to be in.
Yeah, that's not really the company you would typically think to associate Jeff McNeil with. So now we're going to stick with the Mets and move on to the manager of the year. You mentioned Buck Showalter before. He's in the number 1 spot. Number 2, Rob Thompson taking over for Joe Girardi after the firing. Phillies kind of, hit a new stride after that, but still really haven't been able to get that click, even with Harper back. At number 3, Ali Marmol. The Cardinals look fantastic, of course, being aided by the Pujols juiced balls, but they're still putting together, Waino is still chucking. They got Pujols having a resurgence. Really would like to see those guys make a deep run in the playoffs. Yadi, Pujols, and Waino one last time. Marmol's done a great job with that team. Then you've got Snitker from the Braves at number 4 and Dave Roberts from the Dodgers at 5. You can really see how we value the managers of the Yankees and Dodgers, teams that we really think that, let's be honest, we could manage those teams to a 100-win season, although Boone's not going to manage the Yankees to 1. But the manager of the year is a tough one because really a lot of the game decisions are made by the front office. The lineups are probably set by the analytics department. The analytics department tells you when to switch pitchers, probably, right? All of it is data driven, but you get an old school guy like Buck who he was resistant to that when he was with the Orioles. He was really resistant to the analytics side. But you can see how they've kind of embraced the analytical approach with his old school managerial feel. And that's really taken the Mets from constant disappointers to holding on to the first place into September.
Yeah, I think that with Buck, he's done really well with the hand he's been dealt. This deadline, they didn't get what they needed. They've kind of thrown stuff at the wall and see what sticks with the Ruff and Vogelbach DH platoon. And they didn't get that lefty reliever in Chafin or somebody that they needed. So, while he does make questionable decisions sometimes, who else is he going to throw out there? He has to kind of ride with his guys. And I think at the end of the day, bigger picture, they're in first place, and it's a historic season for them. So I think you got to go Buck 1.
Yeah, since the World Series, the Mets have really been just a lot of collapses, just not good teams. And then you bring Buck in, and then all of a sudden it's bam, you're a respected team again. And people aren't like, oh, it's the LOL Mets or whatever. But I feel like what Buck's brought to the Bronx, not the Bronx, to Queens is that it's just his presence is really everybody in that locker room just gravitates towards him, but at the same time they're all respecting him, and that's something that I think really means a lot to a team. But I feel like the only other guy that could really challenge him would be Rob Thompson, because he took over for Philly's team that was in dire need of a change. So I feel like he's the only other guy that can really push him right now.
Now, you want to quickly guess what Pujols' date of his 700th home run would be. And I'm going to say it goes down to the last game of the season. I'm going to say whatever the last game of the season is, that's the game he's going to hit it. He's going to be in the lineup. The Cardinals are going to have the Central locked up for that game 162, and that's the day I'm going to say he does it.
I'm going October 2nd. I think it's Yachty bobblehead day. And I think him and Yachty both go yard.
He's going to do it in LA on a Friday night, where most of his back end of his career was, where he was supposed to get 700 with the Angels. He'll do it in the other team's ballpark.
Okay. Now, Jimmy, you got our Major League Players of the Week.
So AL Player of the Week, no surprise, Aaron Judge for the Yankees, been a one-man show for them. 9 hits, 4 of them home runs, 6 RBI, 450 average, an 1,100 slug, and a 1,660 OPS. NL Player of the Week, we have a newcomer in Josh Peterson of the Giants. Really good overall year for him. This week, 8 hits, 3 home runs, 13 RBI, 471 average, 1,000 slug, and a 1,550 OPS. AL Pitcher of the Week, I've been a fan of him since, I'd say, last year. Dylan Cease of the White Sox. He had a complete game shutout in the 13-0 blowout versus the Twins on Saturday. 9 innings, no runs, 7 strikeouts, just 1 hit and 2 walks. NL Pitcher of the Week, Spencer Strider of the Braves. The Braves win over Colorado on Thursday. It's a historic outing as he broke the single-game strikeout record with 16. And when you think of the Braves, with Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, all those guys, that's really impressive, especially as a rookie. 8 inning, 2 hit, no walk, 16 strikeout performance. AL Rookie of the Week, Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners. 9 hits, 2 home runs, 333 average, 593 slug, and then 993 OPS. NL Rookie of the Week, Michael Harris II of the Braves. I was thinking of going Strider here, but you got to give Harris credit. If they could have co-Rookie of the Week or Rookie of the Years, it would be Harris and Strider. He had a great week, 10 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBI, 455 average, 818 slug, and a 1296 OPS.
Bradley, got our minor league players of the week.
AAA, Bobby Miller for the Oklahoma City Dodgers. He's a starting pitcher, 23 years old. He was a 2020 first rounder, 29th overall out of Louisville. He's second in the Dodgers system, 27th in baseball. His beginning of the season was kind of up and down, but he was promoted to AAA in July, late July, and really seems like he's taken off there. He went 6 innings, 2 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and struck out 14. AA was Blaine Krim. He's a first baseman for the Frisco Rough Riders, 25 years old, 2019 19th round pick out of Mississippi College. He's not inside their top 30, and I've said this a lot of times, but if COVID didn't happen, he would probably be probably knocking on the door for a September call-up right now. This past week, he was 12 for 20, doubled twice, homered 5 times, including 4 straight games. Drove in 11, had a 1450 slug and a 2069 OPS. High A is Carson Seymour. He's a starting pitcher for the Eugene Emeralds, 23 years old. He was a 2021 6th-round pick by the Mets. He was traded to the Giants in the Darren Ruff deal. Not inside their top 30. And this past Wednesday, he pitched against the Everett Aqua Sox, who are the Mariners team. He got the win. He went 6 1/3, 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run allowed, walked 1, and struck out 13. Low A is a draft pick from this year. It was Tyler Locklear, third baseman for the Modesto Nuts, 21 years old. He was out of VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, 9th in the Mariner system, and he's been compared to Pete Alonso coming out of college, which is a really high comparison there. He was 9 for 20, doubled twice, homered 4 times, drove in 7, had 1126 slug and a 1539 OPS.
Now, we probably just saw our worst umpire of the week for next week in game 1 of the Orioles-Blue Jays game. That was brutal, waiting for that umpire scorecard to come out, just kind of refreshing the page here on Twitter. But take us through our best and worst umpires from the last week.
So our best umpire was Trip Gibson. He did the game Thursday in Boston with the Rangers in town. Final score of that game was Boston 9, Texas 8. He called 193 of 197 pitches right, good for 98% accuracy. Consistency was also a 98. Called ball was 99, and his called strike was 94%. He was half a run for Texas in this game, but I feel like when you miss only 4 calls in a high scoring game like that, it's tough to beat. And our worst umpire, which was Wednesday in Atlanta, was CB Buckner. Final score of that game was Atlanta 3, Colorado 2. Factor was half a run for the Rockies, but across the board, he was down everywhere. Accuracy, 89%, consistency, 85, called ball, 92, and his called strike was 83. So that was bad as you can possibly be for about every pitch during that game.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty bad performances over the past couple weeks. It's like players regress over the season. It's like the umpires are regressing as the season goes on too. Although, I mean, they really did start the year bad too. Or at the start of the year, we were talking about they were doing it on purpose for robo umps. Now it's like they kind of hit their stride mid-season and now they're falling off again. But I'll still love to see good performances like that. 4 missed calls in a high-scoring game. That means lots of opportunities and lots of made calls. So we love to see that. Now we're going to go to Owen with last week's top 5 plays.
Springs to mind as you watch him. Scrolling stop, Solano. Minor bare hit receive. Wow. Athlete.
They have a word with his younger brother. There's the ball hit down the line, slicing, and it just does.
Oh, he
He caught it! Holy mackerel, he caught it. And the throw all the way back to first. It's in time! A double play! The ball went up.
Like that. Barehanded by Witt Jr. That's an incredible play. My goodness.
It's lifted in the air, deep to center. Back for Nimmo, still going for the warning track. Leaping up at the wall. Nimmo made the catch. Oh my.
Now we're going to bring it back and head to the trading floor, talking about trading cards, baseball cards. Brad, you did a big pack pull this last week. Tell us what you got.
So I did a select hobby box, runs about 120 bucks. Kind of on the cheaper end. It's not licensed. It's select for all the other sports is licensed, but for baseball they're not licensed for whatever reason. But in that thing you're guaranteed you're guaranteed 2 patch cards and 2 autographs. So for my first autograph, it was a rookie patch auto. Hans Kraus, he's the Phillies number 13 prospect, I think, right now. That's out of 99. The other RPA, which was a pretty solid one, out of 199. Reed Detmers. It's always nice when you pull a guy who's throwing a no-hitter.
Yeah, right.
We got a TJ Friedel, he's a rookie for the Reds. He's pretty big jumbo patch there, kind of cool. And the last patch, which was not numbered, but it was the best one of the entire box, it was Wander Franco, a giant jumbo patch, rookie card on it. It's always cool to get that. And then for some of the other stuff, it was you get a lot of numbered cards in there. So you get this Charlie Blackmon. It's a light blue card. It's numbered out of 35, 34 out of 35. Ke'Bryan Hayes out of 199. That glare is killing me. There we go. And then our last numbered card was Ian Happ out of 150. It's a nice little blue kind of color match there for the Cubbies. But overall, it's a fun rip because it's not licensed, but you're also getting the stuff you really want to pull out of packs. And considering for 120 bucks, it's nothing crazy. And for the cheaper products, I feel you just go for the smaller boxes, which is the $25 boxes that you could find in Walmart, Target, BJ's. Now I saw those there the other day. Well, it's not I guess obviously it's lower odds of pulling something crazy, but I saw one on Twitter today. Somebody pulled a Mike Trout 1 of 1 out of a blaster box that they got in Target. So you never know what you can find. It's basically it's like a scratch off, but you get to keep the stuff inside of the scratch off. So the medium boxes are I would say the hobby boxes that'll run from, you could probably get the one that I bought was kind of on the cheaper side for hobby boxes, but usually they'll run you around $200-$300 for an average hobby box where you're getting 2 or 3 autographs. You get all the prospects, you get all their first Bowman cards, stuff like that, all the rookie cards. And then the higher tier boxes is stuff that I don't ever go into. I don't have the funds to go into that stuff, but I kind of count it because I go on YouTube and I'll watch other people open it. So I'll be like, hey, they pulled this out of there, but I won't be opening that stuff. It's guaranteed you're pulling stuff out that's out of 5, out of 10. And that's why the boxes are crazy. You pull a 1 out of 1 Lou Gehrig bat piece or something like that. It's crazy. I wouldn't recommend dabbling in that stuff because that's more for breakers, which are people who break all the products, and you can buy in. You could buy in for just your team, buy in for $70 on a $600 box, and you get all the Oriole cards that come in that for your $70. So it's definitely a hobby that you have to do your own research on. You can't really do it all in one day or even a week. It takes a lot of learning experiences.
Yeah, so kind of off the baseball card topic, but I used to be big into TTM, through the mail autographs. I usually send like 4x6 pictures with like a request for the autograph. And you're better off doing it in the off season. I don't really do it much anymore, but I've gotten some solid prospects like Anthony Volpe, Corbin Burns. Let's see, Reed Detmer's coming up again. Royce Lewis, Matt Wallner. Isn't he like the Twins top prospect or something? And then for like Orioles fans like you, Jim Palmer,
Sweet.
Bruce Robinson, and then like some other like older guys like Wade Boggs and like Andre Dawson. So yeah, I mean it's fun to do. Usually like guys like Wade Boggs will charge like $5 for an autograph, or like I know Dawson charges like 10. I think Brooks charges 10 too. But it's kind of like a cheaper hobby to get into, especially for like a younger kid. Because I'm not saying you're guaranteed to get them back, but like you're like you have a really good chance if you're paying for the guy that you're going to get them back. And if you send out say 10, request 10 different guys, you're probably going to come back with half success. So it's kind of a cheaper hobby, I'd say, than card collecting, but it's definitely fun.
Now we're going to go to this week's power and sour rankings. We're going to start over on the sour side. This week, we've got number 5, Texas Rangers, had an awful 10-game stretch there. The Pirates also had another terrible 10-game stretch. 2 teams that we expect to be bad, pulling up the rear on the sour rankings. Then we've got the Giants, who have just not lived up to the expectation last year, had a really bad week, fell even further back, and really out of the wild card pretty much, out of the West pretty much, despite, what Rodon's doing over there. They brought him in and he's been fantastic, and they just haven't been enough to, keep it going there.
They're a 4th place team now, aren't they?
The Diamondbacks are in 3rd. Who would have thought the Diamondbacks would be in 3rd too? The Orioles get all this credit for being, a surprising team, but for the Diamondbacks to be 3rd there is surprising. At number 2, we've got the Minnesota Twins. Jorge Lopez has not looked good since going over there. We hate to see it. You saw him blow a save and then start punching the mound, and he had better luck than that, than the number 1 guy on this list, Zach Plesac, who fractured his hand. Was it hand or a wrist?
Wrist, I think. It was his hand. Yeah.
Fractured something, pounding on the mound. It's silly things like that are super, super avoidable injuries, especially for a team that's winning their division right now in a playoff spot that shouldn't be there, and breaks his hand. So the thing is, the 2nd year in a row that Zach Plesac has found himself on the sour rankings. He definitely made it last year at a point too.
Yeah, just to add to that, you have his uncle Dan Plesac, talking about it on MLB Network every day. Imagine that your nephew's just punching the mound break. You're like, oh my god, I got to break this down.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Now going over to the power side, for the first time in a long time, maybe first time all season, I believe. Actually, they started rough. They might have been off earlier in the season. The Yankees are not in the top 5 on the power rankings. We've got number 5, the St. Louis Cardinals, jumping up. They've really risen the ranks. They've put in the weeks of good play to rise through the ranks up to the number 5 spot. Number 4, we got a tight one here, is the Atlanta Braves, just behind the Mets in the division, and just behind the Mets in the power rankings. The Mets are number 3. They just took a series from the Dodgers, which really helps them too. And then number 2, Houston Astros. And then just a pretty large gap this week between the 2 and 1. It was a very large gap last week. It's a pretty large gap this week. So seeing as the Dodgers did drop those games to their top NL opponent, but the Dodgers are still the number 1 team on the power rank. So if you want to see the other spots, check it out, CTBP Pod. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. And we'll see you all next week with another episode.
Play ball.